Hey guys.
Hello.
How's it going?
Oh, this shirt is very blue.
It is extremely blue.
It's not this blue in real life.
That's true.
It's actually kind of crazy, yeah.
Can confirm, because I'm sitting right next to her.
In real life, it's really happening. This is not a CGI, like, in animation. I don't know.
Or is it?
Who knows?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Audrey is slowly turning into one of those people from Avatar. What were they?
Yeah, this is just skin. This is not a shirt.
Yeah, what were they called? Gremlins? Memnars? Snurts?
Snurts. I think they're
I think
snurts.
Snurts
Mm-hmm.
were the guys from Avatar. Yeah.
Yeah.
Avatar has like 9 sequels coming out, right? Like 30 years from now
I think
or
so,
something?
yeah. In the next like 50 years, there's several other movies happening.
Oh, they were called Audrey's, yes.
Oh,
I do remember that.
How could I forget? Oh my god.
Yeah.
We're blue screen. We have floating Audrey head. I think actually, no, floating Audrey head and shoulders actually would be pretty great.
Yeah, we should have done that.
Well,
right.
We have a green screen now.
Just, we're going to cut the stream now. We'll be back in 15 minutes with a blue screen, okay?
You're going to have to go buy one really quick.
Well, how are you guys doing? It's nice to see you. We have had a busy week. Every morning at OPG we have like a team meeting. Everyone kind of sits together. We talk about various deals that are in progress, issues we have to solve, make sure everyone knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. And so this morning I was giving an update, and I was like, yeah, when those guys came into the office, like, was that like 2 weeks ago or something? It's like, that was Tuesday. It's like, what the hell day is it? But yeah, it's been crazy busy. As you know, last week or the week before, at some point recently, we announced the deck collection thing. It was really awesome.
Last week.
That was last week. See, this is what I'm talking about. And that's been going fabulous. We've been getting all kinds of interesting inquiries in. Again, if you need any help with collecting debts related to not being paid for content you've created, or anyone who has, just let us know. Mm-hmm. There's a form on our website that you can fill out, and we will take a look at the situation and get in touch. But yeah, we're really excited about it, and you know, a big part of what we do is we can only manage so many people, right? Like, we're a small company, so we manage as many people as we can, but there's always going to be more people that need help than we can serve. So the idea of trying to have some services and some things we do that the broader industry can take advantage of is something we're really passionate about. The debt collection being one, office hours being one.
Mm-hmm. Anything we can do to help, really. Yeah.
And so again, if you guys have questions, ask OPG.
Oh, I did it wrong too. Ah, it's contagious.
Right. You can ask questions anytime on Twitter. We're happy to answer them and talk about them on the show. With me today is Audrey.
Hello, I'm one of the senior account managers here. I've been on the show a few times. Hopefully you guys recognize me. If this is your first time here, welcome. This is OPG Office Hours. Yay.
It is.
That's about all I had to say.
Yeah, and Audrey was in Avatar. She played all the parts.
Actually, yes. That's a little known fact about me. But.
Yeah. You were really good as Sigourney Weaver.
Thank you. That was my favorite part to play.
It's weird that I remember Avatar at all, because when I saw it, I was on Vicodin from having my wisdom teeth out.
Oh my god.
So it was fantastic.
I don't remember anything from that time for me, personally.
Yeah, I had an eventful wisdom tooth pulling where I sold a car, I watched Avatar, had a couple milkshakes. It was fantastic.
Seems irresponsible.
It was weird, but that's a story for another day.
I just had a dream about Schindler's List, really.
Oh, not recently.
No, like when I was recovering from getting my wisdom teeth pulled out, and then I woke up my now fiance and asked him if he'd seen Schindler's List, and it was like 4 a.m, and then once he responded, then I went back to sleep.
Had he seen it?
Yes.
Okay, good. My favorite random awkward thing, and then I swear we're going to start talking about office hours, is that one of the biggest elevator companies in Europe is called Schindler. And so in Europe, they don't call them elevators. Do you know what they call them?
Lifts.
Lifts.
Schindler's
Lift. Every time you go to an elevator, well, you know, some of the time it's Schindler's Lift. And I crack up every time.
That's actually amazing. Yeah.
And I have had to break out of one of those elevators before.
You had to break out of a Schindler's Lift?
Yeah, we got stuck in an elevator, and I broke us out.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a terrifying story. So definitely remember this. Xanatax, thanks for the bits. Really appreciate it. We got stuck in an elevator in Germany. You know, the door closed. It went up just a little bit, and then nothing. So we hit all the buttons. Nothing worked. We hit the emergency button. Didn't do anything.
You are in emergency.
Yeah.
Good job.
We pick up the phone. There's no dial tone or anything. So we just hit 0. We hit various buttons. Nothing works. We yell, nothing happens, and then I'm like, well, we could be in here for a while, I don't know. And the guy that I was in there with is a coworker at the time, and you know, he's starting to get a little concerned. I was just like, maybe we should just try to break out of the elevator. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, how hard could it be? So it's like, just pulled open the door, like ripped it open, and you know, we were only like a foot or two above, you know, where we were supposed to be. So it's just like step out of the elevator, and you know, we're still in the lobby of the hotel, so there's like 30 people around, and you know, just like tear this elevator open and step out, and everybody's like staring at us. We're like, the elevator's broken. I was like, I don't know what to say.
You just broke the elevator. Good job.
Yeah, Schindler's Lift, ladies and gentlemen.
That's actually just the entire movie. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Go watch it.
Well, Mr. McStabby, do they call them Schindler's Lifts? Like, does it say that in there, or are they Schindler elevators? Because then I'm not interested. Anyway, things we want to talk about. Obviously, we're getting ready for TwitchCon. That's coming up next month. We're really excited about that.
Yes.
We haven't figured out how much of OPG will be there, but definitely, oh God. Our screen just went out. I was like, oh,
and then it came back. It's fine.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
But definitely some of the team will be there. It'll be exciting. And, you know, hopefully we will get to see you there. And, you know, if you're a content creator and you want to try to set up a meeting with us or have a conversation, if you want to just DM OP Group on Twitter, follow us there.
Yeah.
Please do that. You can also send an email through our website. We'll be setting up meetings as much as we can. We try to meet with everybody that we can at the show, and sometimes set up like a little informational session if nothing else. But definitely reach out if you have questions or you want to talk. And then, yeah, another thing we're going to do, we've done it in the past on the show. We call it Stream Doctor,
Yes.
which is basically just us taking a look at your broadcast, taking a look at some of the clips, your overall presentation, social media presentation, your business as a business, and how that looks and what our impressions of it are, right? Like, what do we think you could do better? What do we think's going right? What's not? You know, the statistics. All of that, you know, sort of the same stuff we do for our clients, obviously a little quicker, but if you're interested in that, we will have a sign up for that fairly soon.
Yes.
I doubt we have it at the moment, but
keep an eye on our Twitter.
Yes.
For sure. It'll be posted on there, and all the information that you'll need to provide for us, you could do through that sign up, and you know, just go ahead and do it. There's really no reason not to.
Exactly. Why are you so afraid?
Why? Don't be so scared. Come on.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to. That was me trying to be mean. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we want to shame people into doing this.
Yeah. Definitely.
No, it was really cool last time. You know, we were able to take a look at people's channels. You know, I think when we've done it, it's been people with around sort of 20 or 30 viewers. So people kind of just starting out and really taking a look at what they're doing and trying to provide advice, right? Like not do the Simon Cowell's like, well, this is shit, you should kill yourself, sort of thing. But
Stop streaming.
you know, understanding where you are in your life cycle as a broadcaster, what you're trying to accomplish, what sort of the next steps are for it, all makes a lot of sense. So definitely something good to check out if you want some help with your stream. But today, we're not talking about that. We are talking about the hustle, right? This is how, you know, look, a lot of people, one of the things we hear most often from streamers, and we have some advice about this, right? That it's not necessarily the right thing to do, but it is what a lot of people want, is they say, I feel like I should be getting more deals. I want more deals, you know, when is the right time to work with sponsors? And in reality, the right time to work with sponsors is pretty late in your career. You really want to build your channel up as much as possible before you start working with sponsors, because essentially, like, the first price you give them is going to kind of stick with them in some ways. Whoa, my God. Our screen is freaking out, and Nick One Entertainment just gifted
Nick,
some subs.
Whoa, dude.
Thank you, sir.
In here again, going crazy. I love it. Thank you so much. Wow,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Really appreciate it. And just so everybody knows, yes, let's get some glasses of scotch and
here.
robes for our classy new subscribers.
Oh
my God.
word.
We have a ghost in the office, ladies
Sorry.
and gentlemen.
Go all the way to the top.
That's
And
what
then,
she said.
All the way to the up. Oh God, now you're somewhere else. I don't know where you are. Up.
But thank you.
Double click.
Thank you so much,
Okay.
Nick. Really appreciate it. And
Is that okay with you?
just so, well, it's better than nothing. But all revenue on this channel, whether it's tips, whether it's subscriptions, bits, we use that money to do giveaways for smaller streamers. So thank you so much, Nick. That is definitely going into the fund, and we need to do that. Man, we're busy.
Yeah.
Like, it's annoying. There's a lot of stuff I want to get done.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll do a giveaway. The last one was pretty awesome. We had a few great pieces of hardware, as well as giving away like an edited video, like a highlight
cool.
reel
That was
to
really
a
cool.
streamer, which I thought was pretty cool to be able to get like a professional level reel done. And yeah, so I don't know if you noticed, but among our numerous shenanigans today, there is a kitten in here.
I don't know where it came from. Really,
wild,
it's pretty
wild
insane.
kitten. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah,
really
okay.
bumming me out in many ways. Oh, yes. That is the
Manhandler.
kitten. Yes.
This is the kitten. And I'm gonna put her down now so she can keep going insane, I think. I don't know.
What's her name?
Her name is Caesar Salad.
Her name is Caesar Salad. Deliria, thank you for following. More and more. Nice to
Go.
see you. How you doing?
Go rest. Go
Yeah.
sleep.
So little Caesar salad here knocked over the plant, which is slightly suboptimal.
She was sleeping when I brought her in here. I thought she would continue sleeping, and now she's being a maniac because that's what kittens do.
Yes. So she may feature on the show more. But yeah. So what we're talking about is, like, again, our advice is typically develop your channel as much as possible before really getting hung up on deals, because when you're small, I would love to bring. I was actually telling Audrey I want to borrow her to see if our cats eat her, because we want to get a new cat. And yeah, I mean, I really am not very invested in this cat, so
So
whatever
you don't care if it
happens,
gets
happens.
eaten, it's fine.
But yeah, I kind of want to see if Major Cuddles and Tugboat become friends with it or if they hate it. In either case, fine with me, but because one day we plan to add a third cat, and I'm very excited about that. But like I was saying, we advise people to spend as much time as possible focusing on developing their stream, their audience, building that viewership, because the first time you do a deal with a sponsor, that's going to set in their mind like a baseline price. Now, so if you do a deal for $100 because you have 50 viewers, just complete random numbers, right? Then you're sponsored by them for like 2 years at $100 a month. In that 2 years, you're going to keep growing, right? Your channel, let's say you get up to having 500 viewers. Now, when you go to renew the contract, the company is going to understand, right? You've grown so much. You're like 10 times bigger. They do need to pay you more.
Right.
But I guarantee you, they're not going to be like, well, you know what would be fair is 10 times as much money. Like, that never happens.
Right.
So that first number, whatever it is, it pegs your price to some extent in the long term. And it can peg your price in ways you don't even intend. Like if you're working with, just hypothetically, NVIDIA. So you've done this $100 deal with NVIDIA, and shame on you, NVIDIA, for being so cheap in this hypothetical, but you've done this $100 deal, and then Intel calls you, and they want to work with you. And the guy at Intel knows the guy at NVIDIA, and he calls him. He's like, hey, I was talking to, Kung Fu Zombie here, and it's like, I see you're sponsoring him. Is that going well? Do you mind if I ask what you pay? And a lot of times, just informally, like, they'll say it. They're not supposed to say it, but they will. And, the same is true of streamers. Everyone talks more than they should. Everybody, will violate their NDA every once in a while. So be cautious what information you share with who in general. So, all of a sudden now your negotiation with Intel, your number is pegged because of that deal you took. So there's a lot of reasons. And the third reason is that $100 a month is just not a lot of money. Like it, in the scheme of a sponsorship, those go up to thousands, tens of thousands of dollars a month. So the amount of work that you probably have to put into getting this like $100 deal, you're going to spend hours doing it. And you could have spent those hours growing your viewership, creating new content, that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I know we've brought this up on the show before, and it may seem tricky because it's like it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of work to get to that point where you could start working with sponsors responsibly. But that's what it takes, really, to be an influencer, is a lot of time and patience. So
yeah, and yeah, there goes the NDA on that deal.
Oops.
Yeah, but because of that, the further you develop, the more money you're going to make in general, and the better focus you're going to sort of have. But that said, we know a lot of sort of smaller mid-level streamers really want to do deals, and just because we would recommend you spend your time elsewhere doesn't mean you shouldn't be properly educated when you're trying to do this. So that's what we're going to talk about today. It's like networking, business development, handling sponsored work, building the relationships, and ultimately at each of these stages, what kinds of things do people do right? What kinds of things do people do wrong? And how can you best prepare for some of these situations that can be really complicated, can be stressful, and certainly will be new to you, right? Because like if you haven't done a bunch of sponsored deals, like the entire process is kind of intimidating, and you don't really know what to expect. So I think the first thing to talk about is networking. It's one of those great buzzword sort of things, right? But what are we talking about here, Audrey?
Well, networking, it's how you get into meeting people at different different companies, different industries, everything like that. And there's a bajillion different ways to network. One of the real popular ways is LinkedIn. You can network pretty easily on there. It's nice social media exactly for this purpose of networking for business purposes. But really, a lot of what any business can come down to is knowing people and knowing them personally, whether they're friends of yours or just business partners, or maybe you work together once, but you know that person. You have a foot in the door with wherever that person goes, because they're going to remember you. And that's what you want. So you want to be able to go out there and network and meet as many different people as you can, face-to-face or online, whatever. Face-to-face is always better, though. So if you can get face-to-face meetings, that's what you want to do.
Yeah, and it is really true that personal relationships guide a lot of the discussion and a lot of the deals. LinkedIn is a fantastic tool, and we highly recommend that you have a LinkedIn. Take the time to fill it out, explain what your channel is, put the links there, and show your other professional background as well. Because it's just good to have, and it's an easy way for people to kind of search for you. I noticed in my analytics, a lot of times people will be searching for Twitch partner or Twitch streamer as just a random thing they're looking for, and so people are actually there looking for streamers. But yeah, there's no substitute for face-to-face meeting, and you don't necessarily have to have a sit-down formal booked meeting, but even just going to booths, things like that. A lot of our clients have stopped going to tons of shows. Like Cobe hasn't been to a show. TwitchCon is going to be his first show in 300 years. Yeah,
a long time.
But one of the reasons that a lot of our clients don't go to shows as much anymore is that they know all the people. They've kind of done all the networking.
Right.
And so at that point, you only need to go every once in a while to kind of see who's changed jobs or meet the few new people. But those face-to-face interactions, they humanize you, right? They make you a real person in that person's eyes. You're not just the head in the box on Twitch or a URL or whatever, right? They talk to you for 5 minutes. They get a sense of who you are. They get a sense that you're not crazy. And all of that stuff goes a long way towards building relationships. You keep doing this. You go to shows over and over. If you hit every show for a year, you'll see the same people at every show, and they'll start to remember you.
Right.
It was one of the things when I was really early in my career. I did a lot of work in licensing, which is a really boring topic, but there's a lot of conventions just about licensing, and you go, and the first time everyone's like, oh, who the hell are you? Who the hell are you? But the third time, everyone's like, oh, hey, Omeed, how are you doing? What are you up to? And you have, even if you've never done business with them, they see you over and over at the shows, and they're like, well, he keeps coming, so he must be important. Because, you wouldn't be at all these shows unless you were somebody.
Right. So
it even starts to build a little bit of a narrative about you being important. Now, it's a big expense, so going to shows can be costly.
Yeah.
But it is a good investment at in the early part of your career.
Definitely, and that's what the early parts of your career are about. If you want to make this the thing that you're doing, then you have to make those investments. You have to do these things. As long as you're at a point that you are knowing this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to put my time and my money into, then you're kind of the doors are more open then, and you can just go and do it, hopefully. So.
Yeah. And when we're talking about networking, it's not just giving people a business card, right? This is actually a mistake I've seen streamers do a lot. I've seen some that have been really bad, literally seen people just walking around handing business cards to random people they met.
Ooh.
Somebody at one of the Twitch cons was handing out business cards with candy, and I understand the idea.
It's cute, but
it's if you think that that's what you do with business cards is hand them out, just to anybody, then by putting candy on it makes it more likely I'm going to keep that business card, right? So again, it's not, I don't know who that person was, and I'm not trying to beat up on them, or say that they were stupid. What I'm trying to say is, like, when you don't know how things work, you make assumptions, you do your best, and maybe, maybe it doesn't work, right? And those things can ultimately damage your reputation over time. Like, that person, when they were making those little candy bags and whatever, probably never envisioned that we would be talking about it as a cautionary tale a year or two later. So that is a mistake. The business card is not the important thing. A business card is just like a note, right? It's
a reminder.
Yeah. You know how, like, you'll take a note on your phone, or you follow someone on Twitter or Facebook or something when it's like, oh yeah, I want to talk to you again. A business card is just that. So you would never walk up to somebody that you haven't talked to and be like, hey, can you follow me on Twitter? I'll follow you back so that we can talk about business later.
Follow for follow.
Yeah, just like, no. So it's the same thing, right? Networking is about relationships. It's about meeting people. It's about understanding what they do, listening, and seeing how what they do, like how you could help them. And the same for them. So a lot of times when people are networking, another mistake they'll make is they make it about them. They want to talk all about, it's like, well, I'm a streamer that does this and I have this many followers and that sort of thing. Whereas if you frame the conversation in terms of what the other person needs, it's like, yeah, I'm a streamer, it's cool. I'm really interested in hearing about what does NVIDIA want? Like, what do you need from streamers? What do you look for? And then listen to what they say. And there's a chance when they say it, it's not you. And in that case, like, you'll be like, cool, that's really great to know. Like, I'm taking some notes or whatever. Hopefully one day I'll be that person, but, I'm not right now. If somebody said that to me, and people do say that to me sometimes, I guess. When people say that to me, should change that. When people say that to me, almost always I think, oh no, you're much better than you think you are. But it's always impressive to me when somebody has, like, the cognition or, like, the understanding that it's like, well, maybe I am too small for this thing. Maybe I'm, like, trying to get something that, because it's like, well, you're thinking ahead. You can't fault somebody for wanting good things. So it's always impressive to me when people are kind of self-aware about that sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people believe that, you're having that initial conversation and it seems like you should just be talking about you and your abilities and what you do and things like that, right? Because you want them to get to know you, but you just have to remember that it is a conversation. It does go both ways, and it's, even if you're trying to make a business connection, that doesn't mean that it can't just be a back and forth friendly conversation. That's what it should be. It should just be like you're meeting someone new for a first time, almost like a date, but not really. Like, that sounds weird, creepy almost. I wish I didn't say that. But it's kind of along the same lines of, like, you're meeting this person for the first time and just want to make a friendly impression.
Yeah. No, Mona, one of our lawyers, did a whole bit on, like, the analogy of dating to networking. It was
yes.
It was cool. Master Sytac, is it Sytac or Sytac? Master, I'm a Sytac right now. Says, I only give business cards when people ask for it. Try to maintain priority in engaging conversations. That is a great philosophy in general, because if a person doesn't ask you for a business card, then they probably don't need one. Now, the unfortunately, but then I said them both Master Sytacs. So is it?
You got them both right.
Is it Sytac?
I think it's Sytac.
Yeah, blink twice. But if they don't ask for a card, then they probably don't need it. That said, yes, Sytac. That said, sometimes you are going to really want to get in touch with someone and they don't ask you for a card. If you've had a good conversation, or even like a neutral conversation, but you really want to follow up on it, it's totally okay to ask them for a card. There's a couple different ways that usually plays out. Unfortunately, the kind of douchey way that it happens a lot is the person says they don't have cards. They almost always do.
Yes.
But they say they don't have them. Because I think people think that makes them sound important. it's also a thing where, you know, they don't give you their contact information. That's the most important thing they're trying to do.
Yeah.
I ran out of cards, right? Sometimes it happens. It's happened to me, but it's pretty rare.
It's happened to me, and then I just gave that person my contact information. I wrote it down.
Yeah.
And that's really what happens. So if somebody doesn't even do that, then they probably just aren't interested.
Yeah, and that's okay, right? Like, I get a lot of cards that you know, I don't follow up on, or I give out a lot of cards and they don't follow up with me, and that's fine. So, you know, if you get those kind of cold signals off of somebody, they're probably not gonna follow up with you, but that's okay, right? Like, if they say, hey, I don't have a card, it's like, okay, well, here, take one of mine. You know, like, they'll always take it. Like, you know, the level of rudeness to not take your business card is pretty high. Which is funny because I do a lot of panels, and so right after a panel, a lot of times people will come up to talk to you, and then, you know, they'll give you a card. Almost always when I do a panel, I go up there and there's some business cards that have been left by people, and I have sometimes seen a business card from a person that I know that doesn't have like good etiquette about this sort of thing, and it's rough, right? Like, you don't want to hear that's like, you don't want to see somebody like throw your business card in the garbage, right? Like, that would feel terrible. So yeah, I mean, you can push on it a little bit. Don't be afraid, but it's always a better sign. Like, when somebody asks you for a business card, that's a really good sign. Just try to make sure you get one of theirs too. And if they ask you for a card and don't have one, ask them, you know, like, hey, what's your email address? And then just write it down. Totally cool.
And like I was saying earlier, like, a business card is a reminder. So, like, you know, having that conversation with them and meeting them face to face is really great. And the business card is the reminder to later follow up with you, or for you to follow up with them.
Yeah.
You know, and because I know I'll come back from shows with like a stack of business cards, and I have to relate it back to either notes that I took about the meeting or to like faces. So like, I'll usually look the person up real quick and be like, yes, I remember meeting with them. Here are my notes, or here, you know, I just remember doing that, and so I'll follow up. So it's just a good reminder.
Yeah, if you look at a business card and you can't remember the person or what you talked about at all, then that was a very unsuccessful networking opportunity that person took.
Yeah.
Kung Fu Zombie asks, someone once mentioned taking selfies with people instead of handing them cards. Is that maybe too informal for some situations? Well, so the main thing for me with a business card is that it has the contact information. So the selfie won't have that. So right there, it's like, you know, I don't think they're accomplishing the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, I definitely have meetings where people want to take a selfie afterwards. I never mind it. Sometimes it seems weird. Sometimes it's flattering. Sometimes it's cool because I want a picture with the person seeing. You know, I think it's the same thing as like just with normal people out in public, right? If you would normally ask someone to take a selfie and it wouldn't be weird, then yeah, it's totally fine.
It's fine.
But I don't think it'd be a great way to like keep track of a business. So
it's like you're just collecting photos.
Yeah,
it's kind of weird.
And Deliria, is that?
I think so.
Delira. Delira. I'm gonna get them right.
3 of them.
Delira says, I think it's too intimate to do selfies with randoms. Yeah, and that could totally be true, right? Like, I have felt uncomfortable sometimes when somebody's asked me, and I'm sure there could be weirder situations too. So, you know, it may not be something you want to do in a first impression sort of situation necessarily. You could also end up looking like a fan, which as a professional, you know, this is actually, it's a weird topic because a lot of streamers start streaming because they're fans. Like, I was a fan of Magic. That's why I started, you know, writing Magic articles and then got into the game industry. Like, I think we all kind of start because we're fans. Like, we love games. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. But once you become a professional in the industry, then it's really, it should be saved for very rare occasions to like fanboy over somebody, right? Like, you know, certainly if you're gonna have a meeting with Kojima, right? And Kojima sits down with you and you're hanging out and you have a great time and whatever, and you're just like, hey, can I have a picture? Like, yeah, like there's nothing unprofessional about that.
Seems okay.
He knows he's Kojima. Like, it just happens. So. Those kinds of situations work fine. You know, somebody you've done a lot of business with, you want to tweet about it, something like that is fine. But yeah, I mean, for somebody you just met that, maybe is like shy or awkward or doesn't have a, big social media presence, like maybe not the best. So I don't know. Use your judgment. Like a lot of this stuff is use your judgment.
Yeah. I think it's actually an interesting topic of like being a fan while you work in the industry, because like he said, like we're all in this because we're fans. And when I first started, here, which was my first job in the gaming industry, I was a fan of a lot of different streamers. TwitchCon had just happened in San Diego, and so I saw a lot of different streamers, but I didn't talk to anybody. I was just like, oh, wow. And then I started working here, and I was like, oh, wow, we're going to work with Carnage. I've watched him for so long, things like that. And shortly after I started, we had a big event that we did, and I met a lot of people that I watched. Like, it was very cool. And I just had to be like, okay, put my business hat on. Like, I'm a really big fan, but at the same time, I'm here to help you. I'm here to work with you. Like, how can we do that first? And it's tough sometimes. And there's definitely been people that I've met that I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, when I first met Brian Kibler, I was really hoping Shira would be there. Shira was not there, so I was slightly disappointed, but that's okay.
Yeah, I just don't talk to Brian if he doesn't have Shira.
It's just unimportant.
I just walk by.
Oh, hi.
Like, who are you? Oh.
I didn't recognize you without the cloud.
Where's Shira? I have to go.
Gotta get out of here.
Nick Gasm asks a great question. How much does the look, feel, design of a card really matter? With the main part being your contact info, what other info should be on the card? So that's 2 questions, Nick. We don't allow that. No.
Only one.
But
he didn't hashtag ask OPG, so
somebody ban him. No.
Don't do it.
No, Nick, those are great questions, and I think Oliver said, we should probably have a business card stream, like Card Doctor.
Card Doctor!
Yes. Business Card Doctor. Yes. Write it down, Oliver. Let's do it. So to answer the question briefly, before we, man, Lucky, harsh.
Just get out of here.
Yeah, Lucky doesn't know how Twitch works. To answer the question briefly, how much does the look, design, feel matter? Not as much as people think,
right,
but a little. Like, if you have like a scrap of paper as your business card, or like a soiled napkin, or or worse, that matters. That sucks. Nobody wants that shit. Yeah. Like if you have, you just print out your contact information on pieces of paper, it's not great. Like it doesn't look very professional.
It feels unprepared.
Yeah. Or like you don't know what a business card is.
Right.
However, we see streamers a lot of times spend money on like super premium cards with like ultra thick stock, like Moo.com. Yeah, freaking King Gathalion, one of our clients. Oh yeah, I mean it's fantastic.
It's amazing.
Right? But he has like wood etched and burned cards.
But he's King Gathalion, right? So it's like a lot of people already know who he is. Doesn't necessarily need to be handing out business cards all the time. So it's like really neat that he has this. It's like a collector's item almost.
Yeah, it's more of a collectible than a card, right? But I see people all the time, and it's funny. We were just talking to another company that was in and showing them the studio, and one of the things we talked about is how one of the pieces of advice we give streamers is don't overthink it. Like you don't have to spend $10,000 on equipment to do a stream. You don't have to have the best video card, the best processor. You don't have to have everything, CG animations and things like that. Just do a stream.
Right.
Like and you'll build over time.
Right.
And the same is true here, right? Like, don't overthink it. Like when somebody hands me a business card that I know costs $1, like I feel bad first of all because it's like that's like taking $1 from them. And second, it's just not necessary. Right. Like another thing that I really advise against is don't make your business card a different shape, like a non-standard shape or a non-standard size. Because what happens is I'll get a stack of business cards. By the end of a show, I'll have like 50 or 100 business cards. Now, some of them are different sizes. They're either like pretty small or pretty big or squares or whatever. So when I'm trying to take that stack somewhere, they fall out.
Yep.
And then, or I have, like Brian Kibler, a neurotic, constantly shuffling cards if I have them,
yep.
sort of thing from playing Magic. So if I have business cards near me, I'll just shuffle them.
Yep.
And so all the ones that are different sizes will fall out, and then they'll eventually end up in the garbage or on the floor, which is not where you want your card to be.
Nope.
So what I say is like, take a look at how expensive the cards are. Don't buy the cheapest one. Buy like, one, maybe 2 steps up.
Right.
But don't buy anywhere near the expensive ones, right? Yeah, met someone at PAX that had aluminum cards, $150 for 75.
Oh.
You don't want to you don't want to think about like, should I give this person a card?
Yeah. Do I want to spend this money at this point? Yeah.
You just like a business card should just be something like. Most likely, it's going to end up in the trash or somewhere weird or whatever, or get lost. So you don't want it to be like a big expense that costs you something.
Right.
You just want to always have them be okay, and that's really all you have to do.
And a good example of this is sometimes when we're going to events, we make little like event packages for clients and people like that, and we'll make like backup business cards just in case they need them, like in case they forgot their own business cards. And it literally just has their name, their handle, a link to their like social medias, and their Twitch or wherever they stream, and their icon. That's like their main icon. And then it's like there's a picture that relates to them, and all their information is right there. And those are really easy. And we actually usually end up just printing them out and cutting them here in the office. Something that you can do. And they're just really simple. Like the most expensive thing there is the card stock, which is not going to cost you that much in the long run. You're not going to spend $150 on 75 business cards. You're going to spend like $10 or something.
Well, look. So here's our business card. This one's a little beat up, but
yeah.
You can see it's random. It's the normal size like of a business card. It's not like crazy cardstock, but it's good. It feels a little sturdy. It has rounded corners, like Mr. McStabby said. Again, because if you have a whole stack of cards that all have the normal edges, this one's not going to fall out. It's the same size. It's just a little detail that's nice. And then, I think spend the money to have something nice on the back. We just chose to go with like an orange thing with our logo. I feel like makes plenty of sense. But just and then don't overcrowd it. So Nick's second question, which I wasn't going to answer, but I will, was like what kind of information to include, and you don't have to have a lot here. I think that you want to have your name, and I typically recommend that you have your real name on the card.
Yes.
If you have huge privacy sensitivities, sure, don't do it. But in general, like, your name is going to get out there at some point. It's real hard to hide your identity. Also, you shouldn't be giving these cards out to fans. So
you shouldn't have to worry about that anyway.
So have your name, have your Twitch URL, have your Twitter, and your email. You can have your phone number on it too. Like I have my phone on our card. I have my name, my title, my email address, my Twitter, and my phone number. I put my phone number on it because, like, in business, you just do that.
Yeah.
I've noticed a lot of streamers don't do that, and I think that's fine. You don't necessarily want people calling you if you don't. If you don't answer your phone very often, then you don't want people calling you.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. I would only put the URL of your website up there if it's different than the URL in your email address. Otherwise, you're just kind of putting redundant information in there. But yeah, and then past that, again, you can use the back to do something nice with, like to put an emote on, or put a little, if you have a catchphrase, or you want to just say a couple of things about your stream, like variety streamer, 100,000 followers, something like that. But again, don't put too much stuff on there. Don't go nuts with it. The front of the card, I'll show you without showing my details, is very basic. Just plain, has our logo, has the name of the company, and, has the information on it, right? Don't overthink it. Just simple is good here.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
A lot about business cards, but networking in general, like, just going to places, going to parties if you can, at events, and just meeting people face to face is really great. joining, we talked about this before, joining Discord channels that are relevant to your interests and your stream are really good because, and this is good even if you're thinking about starting streaming, because then it's a free thing to do. You just join these communities and you can start talking in them, meeting people in those, kind of making your name visible to a bunch of people. And then when you do start streaming, you can be like, hey guys, you know, if you want, you can come watch my stream. You know, I'll be streaming from this time to this time. And then those people, like, they know you. And they'll probably come tune in because they want to hear what you have to say. They want to watch what you're going to play. Yeah. So that's a really free and easy thing to do without having to go travel to an event. Lots of different options for networking out there.
Absolutely.
And just keeping it professional. Be professional.
Yes, always keep it professional. That's a really important thing. And it goes beyond just the meetings, right? It's actually being professional at the show as well. A lot of times, you know, shows, there's a lot of work, it's high pressure, whatever. And for streamers, there's a lot of free drinks. There's access to other substances that may or may not be legal in the place you are, but are legal in many of the places where game conventions happen, and sometimes plentiful. And you have to remember that even at those late night parties, the late night bars, some of the same professionals that you want to deal with are gonna be there. And so if you get wrecked and, you know, make an ass out of yourself, which I did definitely make an ass out of myself in front of somebody at PAX West accidentally with a case of mistaken identity, because I'd had a couple drinks, right, and it wasn't that big a deal, but it was awkward. It was definitely not something I wanted to have happen. But it's the kind of thing that can happen, you know, when you're drinking. Because I was just, you know, it was Jen, me, and a couple of friends were drinking, you know, and the night's over. Like, we're going to go home after this. So wasn't expecting to run into anyone I knew, or in this case, mistaken. But yeah, it doesn't matter, right? Like, that's not an excuse.
Yeah.
And even though I thought that, you know, the professional part of the day was over, it wasn't, you know, because it just kept going. So always be careful about that. You know, drink, have a good time, smoke whatever it is you're gonna do. Just, you know, don't get wrecked, don't get out of control. You know, you never want to be a person who's like passed out on a couch and then, you know, like an executive from Intel comes, this literally happened at one show. Executive from Intel comes by, he's like, who's that guy? It's like, I don't want to tell you.
Just don't worry about it. And this is something I've said on the show before, and it's something that comes from my theater experience, is you're always auditioning. And I think it goes anywhere in life, any business you're in, it doesn't matter. Like, you're always auditioning, you're always on. People are always going to be paying attention to what you're doing, especially when you're an influencer, especially when you're like in the space. And this is, it may seem like a big industry, but it's really not. It's still fairly small, and a lot of people talk to each other, they know each other. So try not to be horrible. I don't know. It's
and,
really,
you know, it can be mistakes, right? Like, I think everyone has accidentally drank too much or whatever sometimes. Just kind of be mindful of it, or have a buddy system or whatever. Like Samurai King says, you can make an impression of what you're like behind the scenes if you get blitzed at a party. Yeah. And that's true, you know, because if you're there to network, then you're trying to talk to people that are behind the scenes people. And if, you know, and so you'll be in like more intimate situations, you know, like maybe at a hotel room with like 10 people, or, you know, at a bar where everyone's like bailed out of the main party. But, you know, there may still be some people around, or even in that place that you didn't expect. And, you know, if you make an ass out of yourself, it can hurt, right? Right. That happened at Gamescom, had too many drinks, and an exec from Intel came up to talk to us. Yeah, it can be pretty awkward.
Why are all these execs from Intel going and talking to people when they're drunk?
Yeah. There's so many execs from Intel, they're popping out everywhere.
Oh, there's one over there,
yeah. I think your cat might be one.
Oh, oh, good for me, yes.
But yeah, so the next topic that we've got is business development, or biz dev.
It's my favorite, like, shortening of a business term, is biz dev.
Mine is PMP, project manager professional, but it looks like pimp.
Pimp. I'm a PMP.
Yeah, I want to get the certification, even though I'm like terrible at project management, just so I can put the PMP behind my name. It's Omeed, pimp.
Pimp.
But But yeah, biz dev is a great one. Rolls off the tongue. Sounds very important, and it is. So, what is business development? Well, it's right there in the title, right? It is the development of business.
Yes, it is business development, yeah.
Right? I don't know why we got to come on the show and tell you people this, but no, business development is, so like in Hollywood, there's a term called development. So a movie doesn't just happen, right? It doesn't just one day Guardians of the Galaxy appears and James Gunn directed it and all these people are in it and all these effects happen. That movie had to be developed from, you know, all the way back from somebody somewhere going, we should make a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. That's a good idea, right? Like, that's how it starts. And then you say, okay, well, who's going to do it? Who's going to write it? Who's going to direct it? Who are the actors going to be? How much is the budget? Like, all of these things have to be developed in the process of making a movie. So a movie goes through sometimes a fairly long development process. And there are developers, like people that are just, that is their job, is helping move a movie from an idea someone wants to do through the process of becoming a movie. Business development, exact same thing, but for business.
Right.
So you go to a party, you meet an Intel exec, since they're everywhere.
They're everywhere.
You know, you have a great conversation, and you're like, I would totally love to do some work with Intel. And the guy's like, yeah, absolutely. Here's my card. Like, give me a call when we get back. You know, we get back home. And you're like, cool, this is fantastic. If you do nothing, then the business will never develop.
It ends there.
So what do you do? Like, how does it work? Business development is an ongoing thing. There are people that I've known for 5 years who I've never done a dime worth of business with that I'm still developing because I know, because it's like smart people that do things that are cool, at some point something's going to happen.
Right.
Like, it's just a matter of time. But you have to keep up with them. You have to talk to them. You have to see what they're doing, what they're about. Sorry, the cat is out and about, so everyone's like, but you have to keep up with it in order to develop it. And then at some point, something will change. They'll say something, or it will be the time, and business will be developed, and then it's time to go. But so as you can tell from that description, this is a pretty vague.
It's a broad subject,
Yeah.
really what it is. Yeah, it's a very broad subject. There's a lot of things that go into business development. Honestly, like a good way for me to think about it and describe it is we actually, one of the things we do for clients is we send them a report every week called Biz Dev Report, Business Development Report, haha. And it has information pertinent to them about deals in progress from beginning to finish. Even before we've asked about it, like before we've gathered interest or either gathered enough information to ask them about it, it's on their business development report. We're just trying to figure out, like, you know, what this is, who it is, does this somebody that you want to work with, something you want to do, and then go from each stage until it's paid out and totally completed. And even after that, even if you've completed work with somebody, you still are probably developing business. Because
Future business.
It'll be future business. It'll be future business. Yes, that's.
Future business.
There used to be a comic book, I think. I don't know.
It's
Future business.
Yeah, I got a lot of bad jokes for that one.
Okay.
Yeah, see you later, Delia. Nice to see you. Claude Voice says, I heard an explanation that business development is the practical application of the networking theory, but I have no idea what
That was
the
a lot of
networking
words.
theory
I
is.
feel like I'm in class.
So I'm going to go ahead and agree with you. But if you
Absolutely.
want to drop some more information about networking theory, then
Love to know more.
Sure, you're probably right.
Yeah.
But what the hell was I going to say?
Oh God, I don't know. You had jokes about future.
Yeah, I wasn't going to do. Oh, future business. Yes, that's what we were talking about. The future, because you look. As we've said so many times, the game industry is small. You meet the same people over and over. They may change jobs, go to different companies. You're going to see the same people. So it's very rare that you only do one deal with someone unless you suck. Like, if you are around long enough, there will just be more opportunities. And look, to go back to dating, when you go on a first date and it goes well, what do you say? We should do this again, right? And that's how business deals work too. Like, if somebody has you do a promoted stream for a video game and it's incredible, and they sell a bunch of whatever, you know, you get all these clips, you're on the top of Reddit, whatever it is that they get excited about, they then go, huh, well, do you want to do that again? Like, can you do that again? Like, we're happy to have you do that.
Right.
So you always have to be thinking about how that's going to go out, you know, how you're going to go forward, what the next steps are. And that's actually a really good best practice. And best practice is a marketing term that we use a lot that just means like the best way to do something. So a best practice for meetings is, what are the next steps, right? Because if you just talk to somebody for an hour and it's like, that was a great meeting, I'll see you later. First, like, are either of you going to do anything? Like, did anything happen? Did anyone make any commitments? Like,
why was there an hour-long meeting?
Yeah. It's like, we don't know. Or maybe you talked about it and there were a few different things, but you walk away thinking thing one, thing two, thing three. They walk away thinking, you know, completely different things, you know, because you didn't kind of get on the same page at the end. So asking is like, or asking or saying, so the next steps, you know, the next steps from my side is the way I always like to say it, because it implies that we're going to hear the next steps from your side afterwards. The next steps from my side are, I'm going to send you this email. You know, you asked for some data about this thing. I'll make sure you get that. I definitely want to show you this, you know, stream that I was telling you about, like, because you need to see that stuff. And, you know, and I think that'll give us a good basis to continue the conversation. And then they go, yeah, here's my next steps. And you're like, cool. And then everybody does their next steps. And if they don't, you email them and you're like, hey, where's my shit?
Right.
You know, you said you were sending me brownies and you didn't. So give me the brownies.
Where are my brownies?
Right? Easy enough. Always make sure to have a follow-up, right?
Yes.
Exactly. You know, if you don't do that, if you don't have a next step, then these things will just fall off, because we're all busy. Like, we've all got a million things going on. And when you don't have something that is an obligation, it can very often just devolve into like, oh, well, yeah, I don't know what's going on with that person. And if you don't have like a strong relationship, then it can be really hard to reconnect and restart the momentum. You know, if you know the person really well, you can be like, so yeah, I know I didn't email you for like 3 months, but whew, it was busy. What are you up to? Let's talk, figure stuff out again. But, you know, for a lot of what we're talking about here, you know, you're getting sort of like one shot to get these things moving.
Yeah, and I think Mr. McStabby has a good question here, like, how hard do you push? You don't want to annoy the person, but also don't want to miss out. And I think this is a really good question. It's something that we deal with here a lot. That happens just sometimes, where people won't get back to you. They just won't respond, and you'll have followed up a few times. And usually, I think 2 or 3 times, depending on the relationship that's already there, is pretty good. If it's, you know, about something that, it depends on how far along in the process it was. If it's a business that you're developing that was like really close to being finished and then they just totally go away, then you probably want to do a lot of follow-up, because figure out like what went wrong, how to try to fix it, and how to get back to where you were. But usually 2 or 3 follow-ups of like, hey, just, you know, wanted to see if you got my last email, want to make sure it didn't go to spam, because sometimes that can happen. Because you never know, they might not even see the emails that you're sending in. It could be really busy, like we said, or they could have like 30 emails a day and something just got lost in the shuffle. So you definitely want to follow up a few times, and then if you just never hear anything back, then it might be time to just pack it away for a minute. You can try to revisit it in a few months if you need to, or meet up with that person at a show. I've done that before, where this is actually really fun, where somebody hadn't responded to the last few emails I had sent, and I knew they were going to be at a convention, so I met them at the booth that they were working at the convention. I was like, hey, and he immediately knew who I was, because he knew that he had not responded to the emails. So, you know, just knowing that, and not being too pushy, but just being like, I just want to make sure you got this. Would love to work more on this. Like, let me know if you have any questions or you need anything else from us. Yeah, it's helpful.
Awesome. Well, look at that.
Continued the gifted sub. Hey.
Thank you, the red flower. I really appreciate that. 373,000 gift subs continued. That's a good stat.
Yeah, isn't it interesting?
Hey, thanks for telling us that, Twitch. But yeah, I mean, that is really true. There's a I don't know. There's a very nice lady I used to work with, and you know, someone that I love, just like had like one of the most positive people I've ever met. And she was in like a more senior role than I was at this company, and at some point I needed something, and she was taking too long. Right? She was just really busy, or whatever. So I'd sent a couple reminders. You know, there were a few people on the thread, and then finally, like the third time or so, I sent a thing saying, "I'm gonna trust that shame will motivate you to do this at this point, because yeah." You know, just in a very nice way. I was just like, I think shame will work. And it got done immediately. Right?
It worked.
It worked.
It worked.
And that's kind of what happens. Sometimes, like
gosh.
Audrey said, these things fall off, right? You send a few emails, they don't get back to you. Sometimes because they're a dick or they don't know what's going on. A lot of times it's because maybe, you know, when you had the conversation, they're like, yeah, you know, our company's totally moving forward on this thing. We're really excited. Send me an email. Then you send them an email. By the time they've gotten back to the office, they're like, well, let's put a hold on all this stuff.
Yeah.
They don't really want to respond and tell you there's a hold, because then, you know, you may go somewhere else or get upset or whatever.
Right.
So just kind of wait a little bit, and then maybe it keeps just getting dragged out, and then at some point they just forget, right? You send these other, you know, you send the reminder, and it's still like on hold, and then, you know, finally there's like, fuck, like, you know. But then you show up, right? Like the next time you see them, they just can't help, like, because they know you could shame them.
Yeah.
Right? Like you could come up and be like, hey, thanks for answering my email, guy. How you doing? You know,
Get the gloves on? No.
So like the relationship move that most people will make in that situation is to say something about it. Be like, oh, hey, it's nice to see you again. Hey, so sorry I didn't follow up on that thing. Here's kind of what happened, you know, that kind of thing. And if they don't, you know, just find a like kind of funny way to bring it up. It's like, hey, yeah, so whatever happened with that? I thought, you know, and talk about it, and that resets the relationship. As long as you know, you don't do it in sort of a hostile or like confrontational way, but actually in a way where you're, you know, just you're playing your role of trying to repair the relationship, and then you let them play their role, and it works, right? Because nobody wants to stand here and have like a shouting match in the middle of PAX about, you know, how much they suck for not answering emails. So
I want to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that happen.
I had a similar, very awkward situation happen one time. But I won't tell that story on the air. I'll tell you at TwitchCon if you ask.
There you go.
Because it was real weird. It was fantastic. Anyway, so yeah, that kind of like following up, and you know, you can even just every once in a while just reach out. Like at some point, you know, we can all agree the idea, like that idea or that conversation is kind of dead.
Right.
But that doesn't mean the relationship is dead. You know, like a couple months later, it's like, hey, I just want to check in, see how things are going. Love to set up a call, or let me give you an update about, you know, I just reached 100 subs, or you know, something like that. And just thought you'd like to know. Would love to hear more about like your future plans. You know, and like they may ignore that, and that's cool. You know, you'll get the message, but. Depending on the value of that contact to you, you know, it's a good idea to kind of keep up with it.
Exactly.
You know, as long as it's not all the time, it's not, you know, it's not really annoying.
Yeah. I mean, if you're sending like constant DMs to people who are just not responding to you, then, you know, at that point, yes, it's clearly annoying. But, you know, most of the time you're going to know if you're being annoying, right?
Yeah.
So you'll know when to not do that. It's usually common sense, but just keep that in the back of your mind. You know, a few follow-ups, maybe following up a few months after that, just to touch base if you have any updates. I always like to do something, if I do something like that, I like to send updates along. Not just like, hey, you know, I wanted to touch base and see how you're doing, but also like Omeed said, like, I've reached this amount of followers. Look at all these tweets I did that were really popular. Had a lot of really good engagement on these. Or if you sent a proposal along, maybe making a couple changes to it and be like, hey, I'm going to resend this proposal to you for you to take a look at. There's been some changes since the last time I sent it. You know?
Yeah.
Things like that. It gives them something to look at, and something that is going to be a little more difficult for them to probably not respond to.
Yeah. And Benobi makes a great point. It takes less time to maintain a business relationship than it does to repair one.
Absolutely.
truer words have never been spoken.
Right. Just think like Sims. Like if your Sims friend just starts hating them, it takes a really long time for them to not hate them.
Yeah, or you could think of your real friends, if you have any.
What are those? I don't know what you're talking about. I only play Sims.
No, but I mean, you know, like, you can really think of business relationships a lot like personal relationships and a lot like romantic relationships. Look for analogies. Like, are you worried you're bothering the person too much? It's like, has someone ever said, like, man, this is, you know, stop being a fucking stalker, right? Like, you're, you know, stop being, you know, a crazy ex-girlfriend, whatever it is, right? Like, if somebody says that about your communication strategy, then you're probably coming on too strong, right? Like, don't do those kinds of things with a business contact either. It's actually really similar. You know, you haven't seen a friend in a long time, but, you know, it's a good friend. You send them a text message like, hey, man, I'm thinking of you. Like, hope you're doing well. You know, and that's all you have to do. You don't have to, like, drive to their house and, like, you know, have dinner with them or whatever. You know, like, just that little bit of maintenance will kind of keep it going, right? So I think, yeah, really good stuff. Any tips on gaining exposure as a logo and merchandise designer? I know that's not exactly streaming. Well, I think that there is a fair amount of interest in getting people to design logos and, you know, emotes and things like that. It seems like posting, you know, posting in places that are for advertising that service helps. You know, obviously it's a good idea to have a portfolio. So, you know, working with streamers, like, and, you know, at first you may want to do a couple of them for free, right? To just establish a portfolio. You don't want to work for free for too long, but, you know, like, find a streamer you like and just make some stuff. You know, or even, you don't even necessarily have to contact them. Like, you can just say, like, what would I do, you know, if I were, you know, designing emotes for Co Carnage, what would I design? Just make them, post them, tag him, you know, say like, hey Co, you know, I just thought this was funny. You know, I made a, you know, an emote out of your cat or whatever, you know, and just a lot of times people like it. Sometimes they'll retweet it. That sort of, sometimes they'll just buy it, you know, use it themselves. But, you know, getting that portfolio of good work, even if it's not official work, really helps. So I make sure you have a nice portfolio somewhere, and then, you know, like, have a page, have pricing, have all of that stuff in a place that's really clear. Keep it simple, you know, don't go nuts. You don't need a million different samples. Just, you know, like between 5 and 15, 20 that show off, you know, what you can do, what kinds of services you have. And then again, it's networking, like getting to know people that need it, paying attention to people on Twitter saying, man, I really need to rebrand. You know, I saw like Serious Clara today was talking about that. It's like, I really need to rebrand. I just haven't had time. You know, you can ping her. Like, if you, and again, if you have that business relationship or that networking relationship in place already, and you see that, then you can just say, hey, I just noticed this thing. Did you know, can I help? Like, and then right there, you know, that business you've been developing for a long time might become developed, might become a paying thing. So those are some ways. It's like any business, it's hard. It's hard to get going. I think it's Zidane's thing, stream it is a good idea. Show people your work. You know, you're doing the work anyway, it doesn't hurt.
If it's a thing that you can do, you might as well just show people the process of it. A lot of people really like that kind of stuff. Like, I watch some art streams sometimes, and they're really fascinating because I have no talent anywhere near that. So it's cool to watch other people do it. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, I don't understand.
It's like magic.
Yeah, I don't understand how people can even draw like
Me neither.
Bart Simpson.
It's just even the simplest things. I'm like, I can't even make a stick figure, so.
Yeah, Macaroni's like, first draw a bag. I was like, how did you figure that out? It's like, I don't understand. Yeah, never forget. Benobi, we gotta have you on the show, man. Never forget that business contacts can and will recommend you. If you've developed that relationship and someone they work with needs your talent, they recommend you. Word of mouth is still one of the most powerful advertisers.
Yes, so much.
1,000%.
Yep.
Most of our clients are referrals from other clients, you know. And when we're talking to a potential client about, you know, someone who's talking to us about management, we always tell them, do you know any of our clients? You know, if you know them, ask them. You know, we don't compensate people to say nice things about us, or, you know, we don't even tell them to say nice things about us. We tell them if somebody asks you about us, tell the truth.
Be honest, yeah.
You know, and if you don't like working with us, please tell us so that, you know, you're not out there shit-talking us because, you know, we want to deliver that level of service where, you know, we can be confident if somebody asks for a referral, they're going to get a good referral.
Yep.
And so, yeah, word of mouth is fantastic. And so, like, so much business that we get, that our clients get, is somebody introducing, you know, the biz dev guy from another company. It's like, hey, I was having this conversation with this guy at PAX. He said he's looking for streamers. I said, well, the first person you need to talk to is OPG.
Yep. And
then right there, you know, your partner, your business partner's reputation is now working for you. And then, you know, when you do things that way, when you do a good job, and this is why it's important to just consistently do good work, is then people will tell other people about it because, look, we all like going to good restaurants, not bad restaurants. We all like having our car repaired by people who know what they're doing and don't rip us off.
Please.
Yeah, we all want our sponsored streams to be done by like the best streamers who aren't going to screw it up. You know, all of these things are true. And guess what? Like, one car repair place looks pretty much like another car repair place. So if you don't know people, if you don't have the relationships, you know, experience, that sort of thing, like, how do you pick? How do you know? You know, repair place A, repair place B. One's red, one's blue. Like,
I'll go to the blue one.
Really?
I mean, hello? Like, no. I mean, it's funny because, I mean, a lot of what we're talking about, it goes for any business at all. Like, not just the gaming industry, not just if you're trying to be an influencer or anything like that. It goes for anybody. But word of mouth is especially huge in this industry. That's what it's pretty much built off of, like, because a lot of what influencers do is give word of mouth recommendations about what they like to their audience. When somebody's doing a sponsored stream, it's because, hopefully, because they like the product that they're, you know, displaying, and they like the game that they're playing or whatever like that. And so it's like an endorsement, like, hey, I've been kind of thinking about, I've heard of this game. Not even I've been thinking about buying it. I've heard of this game, and now I see Code Carnage playing it, and I'm a really big fan of his. He's almost like family to me. I watch him every day, and he's playing it, so it seems like a really good, like, he says it's great. It's probably great, so I'm going to go buy that game now. Like, that is word of mouth. That's how that works. He's not specifically saying go buy this game, maybe, but you're like, yeah, that's my friend. That's how it works. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it.
Restaurant I used to work quickly became one of the best restaurants in my area purely through word of mouth. Nothing spent on advertising. Yep, that's true. You know, we don't advertise. We don't, you know, post ads somewhere, like, except for jobs. We're hiring, by the way, for an account manager position and an administrative assistant.
Yes.
I tweeted the job links out this morning. If you think it's something you're interested in, please take a look. Positions are full-time. They are in San Diego, so you either have to be here or have to be willing to relocate.
Yep. There's a cat that sometimes is in the office.
Yeah.
And you could spend time with her, so.
And a variety of employees have adorable dogs, too.
It's true. And we bring them in usually on Fridays, but this Friday is a cat Friday, not a dog Friday.
It is Cat Friday here. Monstro, nice to see you. Welcome to Cat Friday.
Cat Friday, yeah.
Yeah,
She's
all
not
cats
even
all
in
the
here
time.
Anymore. Yep.
Yeah, the cat's not even in here anymore.
I don't even know
But
what's
there's a
happening.
kitten in the office. That's what we're talking about if you just got here and think we're insane.
I mean,
yeah,
you know,
there you go.
we might be.
All right, so I think that's a pretty good bit on biz dev, right?
Right.
Let's move on to sponsored work.
Yes, let's do that.
Oh, look, there's that thing. Yeah, and word of mouth can have global reach. That's very true.
Yes.
And certainly, if you're trying to work in the game industry, certainly in the influencer part of the game industry, streamers, things like that, Twitter is a fantastic place to be. Almost every major content creator uses Twitter. The people who provide support services, mods, artists, whatever, everybody uses Twitter because that's where everybody is.
Right.
So if you're posting things on Twitter, they can be highly effective at sort of building your network, your word of mouth, all of that stuff. Hey, Mighty Wrath, how you doing, man?
So hopefully, you know, you're networking and you're hard work of business development has led you to sponsored work. That is where you want to, that is the direction you want to go. So, you know, that's the goal of developing these business relationships. And hopefully that person wants to do sponsored work with you, and you've made yourself enough of, like, you know, an apparent asset for them to want to move forward with that. Trying to read chat at the same time is a mistake.
Who's talking crap about me? Bring them.
Oh, I didn't do it. It wasn't me.
No, I mean, it's fine. Like, there's a good old phrase, right? If they're shooting at you, you know you're doing something right.
Right.
And no, I don't mind having critics. I have plenty.
That's fun. See,
yeah.
It's exciting.
But
yeah, go ahead.
I got nothing.
Okay, cool. Like the specific type of work that you end up doing really depends on the company that you're contacting and you're developing a relationship with, and the relationship that you developed with them. You know, if you really want to move forward with, like, a long-term sponsorship with a company where they're gonna hopefully pay you monthly to do certain things, the hope is that you developed a good enough relationship with them that they want to move forward and do that. And they might have you only do, like, tester things first. A lot of companies will do that, where they're not really sure if they want to do, like, a monthly sponsorship or something like that. So they'll try, like, a couple hour streams or something like that. And so, well, you want to start with the sponsored work with a company you like, and just start getting in there and doing it. You also don't want to get off on the wrong foot with your sponsored work. You know, if you're not looking for an affiliate deal and that's all that somebody is asking, and you've developed a really good relationship with them, you know, sometimes it's best to just be honest and just be like, you know, this isn't really what I'm looking for right now, but when you do have an opportunity and time, I would, you know, and the budget possibly, I would love to do something more like this. You know, and you can explain that to them, because if you're not looking for affiliate work, then you don't want to start with that and then be disappointed because that's all they want to do. Something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Hey, Black Rib, how you doing, man? That is absolutely true, because, look, if you're not going to be honest with your partners, and unfortunately there are a lot of people out there that will not be honest with you or not be honest,
Right.
you know, with each other. There's a lot of dishonesty in this industry. It's very disappointing. But if you're not going to be honest with your partners, you can't build meaningful relationships over time. And sometimes being honest with a company, or, you know, is saying no. You know, like, it happens a lot, actually. Like, a company wants something. I mean, and sometimes it's not that they're being jerks or that they're being unreasonable. It's just reality. You know, if a company goes out and they say, look, we're a small company, we have $1,000 to spend on Twitch streamers. Like, that's literally all we can afford because we are a small company. You know, we make Easter egg paint and we're not Paws, right? So that's what we got. And they come to Co Carnage and they say, hey, Co, like, we want you to do this thing. We have $1,000. And Co's like, you know, or we're talking to them, you know, it's like, well, you know, Co's rate is a little higher than that, unfortunately, to do this sort of thing. And, you know, we talked to Co, and he's like, yeah, I'm not super into Easter egg paint. Like, I really don't understand. So don't really want to do it. You know, you go back and you have the conversation. It's like, look, it's not going to work. Nobody's a bad person. You know, they're asking for something for an amount of money that, you know, like, if you go into a car dealership, it's like, oh, that's a nice Tesla, I'll give you $8 for it. You know, like, the guys feel like, no. It's like, well, it's like, oh, how about 20? No.
That would have been a good deal.
You know, this car starts at, you know, $40,000 or whatever. And so if you can't get into the range, like, it is what it is, right? Like, you shouldn't be mad at Tesla for not selling you the car for $8 because, you know, the cars cost more than that.
Right.
And, you know, they can't really be mad at you for not having enough money, like, to buy the car, because that's not, like, anyone's fault either. So it's just like, hey, yeah, well, I mean, come back when you have more money, I guess, sort of thing. So when you're thinking about that, like, you get deals, and we hear this from smaller streamers all the time, they're not comfortable with some of the terms in a deal, or, you know, that it's just an affiliate program or something. You know, just say that. Like, you may lose the deal, but you didn't want the deal, right? Like, if it's not something you want, you know, even if you're on the fence about it, like, ask for the things that would make you happy, you know? Like, it's a piece of advice that that I've gotten a lot in looking for jobs. You know, ask for the amount of money you want that's going to make you happy. Not the maximum amount you think you can get, not, you know, the the highest amount you think they'll give you, but just ask them for what you want. Because hey, if they're going to offer you way more, they'll probably just still give it to you, you know, or in some way you'll figure it out. If they're going to offer you less and you take that job for, you know, 30% less than you asked for, the whole time you're going to be focused on the fact that you're making 30% less than what you needed to be happy. And it's going to make it hard to do your job, right? Like if I tell Audrey she's getting a 30% pay cut starting Monday, I bet she's going to start working about 30% less hard on Monday. So I was at a company one time where they sent an email around and told us, hey, you know, the company's not doing well, and we're thinking about doing layoffs, and we may still, but for now we're going to cut everyone's salary by 10%. And, you know, so first everyone's like, hey, fuck you. But second, everyone just goes, cool, we'll work 10% less hard. And then everybody worked like 50% less hard. Because now, like, nobody likes it. Because, you know, like, taking a pay cut's a beating. So make sure you're asking for things that are going to make you happy. Don't go into a deal saying, oh, well, I'll just suck it up about this affiliate thing, because, you know, it'll turn out to be, like, the most important part of the deal to them. And then, you know, and they're like, well, you're not pushing the affiliate program. You're not selling enough stuff. You're like, God, I didn't even want to do that part of it. Like, I just wanted to be associated with this company or whatever. So,
and that's another important thing is, like, when going into these like possible sponsored work, you want to know what the goals of the company are. You want to know, like, is this sales based? Like, do they want me to sell this amount of, like, units or whatever I have to do, or is it more just like they want more eyes on their product? So they don't really care so much about sales, but they want a lot of clicks to this link or something like that. Knowing all their expectations and what your obligations are ahead of time before you sign a contract is, like, really important, because you may look and be like, oh, you know what, you know, I really like your product, but I honestly I know my audience and I know me, and I don't think I'm much of a salesperson, and I don't really know if my audience is gonna want to, like, buy this product outright. So, you know, if you want to focus more on something different, that would be great, but I'm not really sure that this part of it is right for me. And they may want to renegotiate some term of it and figure out something different to do, or you may just not fit with that particular activation they're doing.
I mean, so if you want to sound smart when you're talking to these guys, when you're asking this question, ask them what the KPIs are. KPI, Key Performance Indicators. So this is another horrible marketing term. But this acronym, you know, just key performance indicators. What do you care about? Like in a car, what are the KPIs when you're driving? The speedometer, how fast you're going, how much gas is in the car, like, is there enough oil so that it doesn't explode? These are the KPIs of running a successful car. So, you know, what are the KPIs of their marketing campaign? And they'll tell you, like, or they'll tell you something. And if they don't tell you, because they don't know, then maybe you can educate them, or maybe you don't want to work with them, because if they don't understand what they're talking about, it may not go well anyway. So when they come back with the KPIs, like Audrey said, look at them. You know, we've had situations where somebody said, well, we're expecting, we're mainly measuring the KPI of signups. So, hey, go to our website and, you know, create an account, you know, through this, like, trackable link. It's like, okay, well, so for this channel, how many people would you consider a success? And, you know, they'll be like, oh, during a 2-hour stream, like, he has, what, 5,000 viewers? So, like, 10,000 signups would be great. And then you look at that and you go, it is, like, literally impossible for him to get 10,000 signups off of that many people. It's just not going to happen. So you can try to explain why. It's like, look, conversion rates are, you know, like, between 3 and 6% normally. So he's got 5,000 people in there, which means, you know, like, about 20,000, 25,000 unique people are coming through every hour. You know, 3% of that is not 10,000. So, you know, and then sometimes they go, oh, yeah, that's right, sure, and then they change the KPI. Sometimes they just go, oh, well, that's what we need, so I guess you're not the right person to work with. In either case, you dodged a bullet. Because if you signed up for that deal for whatever it costs, you do the thing, and you get, you get 3% conversion, which would be the right amount.
Right.
You're talking about what, like 2,000 signups or something. You were supposed to get 10. You failed. Like, they may not pay you because you failed so bad, right? Like, that'd be like paying someone to deliver a letter and they don't deliver a letter. It's like, well, but I paid you to do that. Why didn't you do it? It's like, well, I tried. It's like, but the letter you asked me to deliver, it was impossible to deliver it. It's like, well, but you said you could do it.
Yeah, exactly.
You signed a contract to do it. Why did you sign the contract if you couldn't do it?
Right.
At that point, it's on you. So it's a rough situation. But saying no to things that are bad or things you don't think you can succeed at will raise your estimation in people's minds. It will ensure that when you do take deals that you're successful, which will then get you more deals in the future because people see you and it's like, yeah, I want that guy because he's good. And they'll just save you a lot of pain.
Right. And it could also, in the long term, help other people too, because if somebody comes and they say, we want 10,000 signups, but we know that your average is 5,000, then it's like, okay, well, that's not extremely realistic. So considering they may be going to other people saying similar unrealistic expectations, right? So if you say no and you're just like, hey, this doesn't really seem right to me, usually I would get this amount of, this is what I could estimate I would get as opposed to this, that may just be a reality check for them. They may have not have even thought of that, and they're like, oh, wait, because maybe they don't work in the industry that much. That happens a lot. There's a lot of new companies, and they have certain expectations because they know, radio ads do this well. So Twitch ads will probably do the same, but it's not necessarily true.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we had something very similar happened about a year ago, where a company wanted to work with, probably 4 or 5 of our clients, and they came and they had a reasonable amount of money for each of them, but they said each of them was going to have to generate this crazy amount of signups. And so in general, we looked at it as there's no universe where this works. And so we'd been doing business development on this for a while, and we get to this point where I just have to send an email back to the guy and say, hey, we would love to work with you, but we just really feel like if we took this deal, we're setting you up for failure. You're going to fail internally because you're supposed to hit these KPIs. You're never going to hit them. Our people cannot do it. It's not possible. So if we take your money, we're essentially just stealing it because we know you're going to fail. And then, you're at risk of getting fired.
Right. Your
company is out all this money when they think they're getting something, that they're not. So if we can't change this, then we don't want to do it. We don't want to be a part of that chain of disaster.
Yeah.
And to that company's credit, they came back a few months later and they fixed it, and they had a much better version, and some of our clients did it, and it went fine.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
It's something to remember. If you really like the person that you've been communicating with at a company, and their job is to make these influencer campaigns, and they have something really unrealistic that they're thinking of, be honest with them, because if they end up going forward with anybody and do this thing and it doesn't meet the expectations that their bosses expected, then that person could end up getting reprimanded or even fired, and you don't want that because you like that person at that company. You want them to stay there. So it's best to educate people in what works and what is right in the industry, if you can, if you have the opportunity, and if you know what's going on, if you know more about it.
Adriana, do you have the ability to put an image on screen right now?
Yeah, which one?
Can you search on Google for Inigo Montoya networking?
Yes.
I wish I'd thought of this earlier. This was actually created by a business colleague of ours. Her name is Allie McLean. She's extremely Australian.
Yes.
But she used this as a networking slide in one of her presentations that she did, and it has some great advice in it, right? So we'll get that up in a second, or is it up?
She's getting it. She's getting it.
She's getting it.
Ooh.
Ooh. Very excited.
I love this slide too. It's hilarious.
It's so funny, and it's actually becoming a meme.
Yeah.
She'll retweet when she sees it in other people's presentations. And she's like, "Where's my credit?" But you know, it actually was something she
Yes.
developed as far as I know.
I love
yeah,
this.
But this is, Indigo's Guide to Networking. Polite greeting, state your name, you know, provide some relevant personal details, and then manage expectations. Hey, DeRobe, how you doing, man?
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. It's time to die or something like that. I can't remember the
Well,
end of it.
hello.
Yes.
The polite greeting.
Oh, okay.
My name is Inigo Montoya, so introduce myself. You killed my father is some relevant personal information. Prepare to die. Manage expectations.
Yeah.
But what I wanted to do is talk about managing expectations, because that's really, you know, what we're saying. And it's another kind of term we use a lot in the industry, but like you remember on Star Trek, right? Like some shit would break and Kirk would like call down to Scotty. He's like, Scotty, shit's broken. Like, what's gonna happen? He's like, oh, it's gonna take 3 years to fix this, you know. And everybody's like, he's like, come on. And he's like, oh, I fixed it in like 5 minutes. I'm like, oh, you're a genius, Scotty. That's managing expectations.
Smart.
Yes, because what happens if you know, Scotty gets in there and it's like a mess and it takes him, you know, a little while to fix it? Well, he told him it was going to take 3 years, so he's probably still going to sound like, you know, he did it ahead of schedule. But you never want to overpromise, right? Underpromise and overdeliver is another, you know, one of these phrases we use a lot. Like, tell people, you know, the minimum. Like, it's like, I guarantee, I'm so positive that I could get 100 people to sign up, because I could do that in my sleep. I know I'm probably going to get like 500-600, so I guarantee 100 people. You know, it could go higher, like we could get a lot more, but you know, it's hard to say. If that person then says, cool, 100 signups is perfect, like we're happy, goes and tells his boss 100 signups, everyone's like, cool, it's 100 signups, this is fantastic. And then you come out, you do 500 signups, they're like, thank you, you're the best.
Yeah.
And so putting those situations into practice is really important. Making sure that you don't overpromise, making sure you don't overcommit is very similar to overpromising. You know, if you sign a contract that, you know, says you're going to deliver 1,000 of something that you're only confident you can deliver 100 of, you're overcommitting. You know, you don't know how you're going to get those other 900 people.
Yeah.
And guess what? When you don't, you get the 100, they're going to come back and they're going to say, well, we need those other 900 people you promised. Like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like, can you do 9 more streams, you know, for free to get me the rest of the people? And it's like, like, you know, all of a sudden, you know, like it's not unreasonable for them to ask that in that situation. It's just awful, because now, you know, now you're literally going to do like 10 times the work you thought.
Exactly.
Which means you know, you're basically making 10% as much money as you thought.
This is an interesting statement about new CMs. They're new to the business, so they tend to overpromise, overhype, and it's really a difficult problem with overcommitment. And I think really, you know, if you're a new CM and this, like, if you're brand new to the gaming industry, then you should be doing research. You know, so it's pretty easy. There's a lot of information out there online here on office hours, like kind of things like that, where it's like you can research into something and know basic expectations of things and know how to, like, you know, underestimate things or anything like that, so that you can over deliver. And everybody just should be doing the research like that anyway. If you're in a position like that, hopefully they're doing their research.
Yeah. And it's hard, right? This is actually because, you know, I used to run community and have been doing, you know, sort of like online communication for companies for a very long time. This is a very hard thing to get right for game companies. And I will lay a lot of the blame on that on the fans of video games. You people. And me, like, people that play video games. And I actually tweeted about this today because Kotaku did an article about the Sims devs, you know, like sort of pleading for people to stop, like, sending them death threats, you know? And so that kind of thing, you know, it's not acceptable, right? But it's created an environment between community managers and players that is completely unrealistic, where any little thing you say is held as, like, you know, one of the 10 commandments. Like, there was a time I got death threats over this.
Oh,
there was a time I did a stream when I was working on WildStar, and we were doing the WildStar free-to-play launch, and so we were on the, we were at one of the PAXs doing, in the Twitch booth, it's like Man vs. Game or SwiftDoor interviewing me and one of my community managers about it. And, I was talking about like, we made a lot of improvements to WildStar going into free-to-play. It's like new features, new content, like all the bugs are gone, like everything's great. And the community seized on all the bugs are gone. They're like, does he really think all the bugs are gone? Like, has he ever played WildStar? What an idiot. And really, obviously I misspoke. It was early in the morning and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
What I should have said is we have fixed a lot of the bugs. Many bugs are gone, right? But like, until I left NCSoft, and it will still come up, I'm sure, later in my life, people will come back and say, that's the all the bugs are gone guy. And that level of, holding people to their statements, it's just unrealistic in an environment where we're all doing live broadcasts, So that happens to community managers a lot. It happens to devs a lot. A lot of sort of senior dev people, like the game directors and things like that, they're partially like salesmen in addition to being, the game developers. They're out there, doing press interviews. So they'll tend to say, what people want to hear, or they'll tend to say like, that's something we're working on. And if you don't qualify it enough, it becomes a fact, right?
Yes.
Or I say like, I definitely want that to be in the game. We're working on it. Makes it sound like it's a commitment, when in reality, it's like that person wants it to be in the game, and maybe guess what? That guy gets fired, or he gets overruled by the president of the company.
Yeah.
That happened to EverQuest 2. I wasn't working there at the time, but somebody promised that there would be ship-to-ship combat in EverQuest 2. Like one time at like a panel, somebody asked about it, and they said, yeah, we're going to do that. And I got to SOE in 2012. The game came out in 2004, and people were still giving me shit about it. Like, it's incredible,
Oh my gosh.
right? So there's a little bit of a challenge here, because of this sort of like combative nature of communities versus community managers. But yes, a lot of community managers and people that work at companies will say things that go wrong,
Right.
And they will say things that are legitimately over-promising too.
Yeah.
Not these like situations where it's like, you guys need to chill out.
Yeah.
But actually like, yes, we are absolutely going to do this thing, and it's like, well, that's not even your decision.
Right.
Like, don't promise shit like that.
Right.
Like, we're fixing this thing. It's like, we're not fixing this
Right.
thing. Like, this thing is broken.
Well, and like Benoit says, like, be passionate, but be human. Like, remember that, people say things that they don't mean necessarily, and, they're trying to make people feel better about something, or they'll say something that they think is true, but it's not necessarily true, and they didn't know in the long run. Like, and this industry is full of very technical work, obviously. Like, I cannot make a game. I have no idea what goes into making a game. So when I see something, I'm like, that looks really neat. And I see somebody said, like, there's going to be ship-to-ship combat. I'm like, wow, that sounds awesome. I totally want to be in on that. And then it doesn't end up happening. It's like, I don't know where along the line it didn't happen. That could have been like something he just said, mistake, or maybe it just didn't work and it wasn't the best thing to ship out. So they just didn't.
Yeah.
So just, keeping that in mind as a member of a community, that technology's hard.
I'm going to say some words, and some of them may make you feel the way that causes this. City of Heroes.
I don't want to talk about that.
Star Wars Galaxies, right? Like the immediate visceral response to things like that, for some good reasons, right? Like, both of those did get pretty screwed up in various ways, but the level of like,
I do hear this.
yeah, the level of hostility that people have still towards people because of those games, like. I was working at NCSoft a few years ago, and anytime there'd be an article, the first post on the article would be like, well, I'll never forgive those guys for City of Heroes. What they did was an injustice. Oh, yeah, bless online. There you go. But yeah, And because of these things, like, these grudges go for a long time.
God,
I mean, Star Wars
forever.
Galaxies was like 2002 or 2001 or something like that. And, you know, still hear about it. And it's mind-blowing because, you know, when somebody says, like, I will never forgive, you know, NCSoft for doing this thing, XYZ, then do you realize that, like, almost none of the people involved in making that are even at the company anymore? Like, the ideas and the you know, vision and leadership that made those decisions, for good or bad. And I will say that in both of those cases, Star Wars Galaxies and City of Heroes, I've talked to the people involved, and the story of what happened is not a bunch of people being evil or idiots or anything like that. It just definitely, neither of them worked out very well. Yeah. So, you know, but holding the company accountable for something that happened a decade ago, you know, it's just not going to get you anywhere. Yeah. Like, those people are gone. Now they may be screwing up a new company. Yeah. Why don't you figure that out?
Yeah. Don't hold on to your hate. It's going to take a lot of energy. Just be happy.
Yes. Yeah, and that's true, Benobi. Yeah, I mean, Benobi, when are you going to start your show? Because, you know, that'd be great. we could do an hour and then, you know, throw to you and you can just take over.
That sounds good.
But yeah, satisfied customer tells a friend, dissatisfied one tells 10 people. And that's true, right? Like, if you look at any sort of review site, the primary reviews are negative. Like, they're hostile, right? Like, Steam reviews will be just brutal about a game. Because in general, right, if you're happy with something, you don't feel the need to tell everyone, right? It's like, yeah, I'm very happy with my phone. I don't constantly be like, Audrey, when are you going to buy, you know, this phone? Like, everybody go buy this phone. You know, I just like my phone. Yeah. And, you know, but the person who feels like wronged by their phone, or, you know, it's like Apple screwed me, like I thought it was still going to have a button, you know, whatever it is that bothers you, right? They will spend their time going to every site, posting on everything, and you know, it's amazing what you could do with that time.
Yeah, it's funny because I loved it when Steam added reviews. I was like, yes, thank goodness. Like, this is how I buy games. Like, this is how I know to buy games, is other people's opinions, because I don't have my own. And I actually bought a game the other night, and I already wanted to buy it, and it was on sale. And one of the reasons I got it is because the reviews on Steam, I'd never seen it before, said all reviews overwhelmingly positive. And I was like, oh my God. I've literally never seen that on Steam before. It was so cool.
Just wait. Something.
It's been out for a while. It's been out for like 2 years. So.
Yeah. Well, it's actually one of the reasons that Steam shifted to having like overall reviews, recent reviews, and then like popular reviews or something. Because, you know, number one, they wanted to show when somebody patched the game or something like that, how people are talking about it now. But also like to recover for a game that maybe had a bad launch, so it had a ton of negative feedback.
No Man's Sky.
And now it's fine. Yeah.
No Man's Sky.
I want to play some more No Man's Sky.
That's a good game.
I enjoyed it. I just haven't, I probably only played like 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
So big.
All right. Well, so we're getting down on time, but want to try to get through some of the rest of this. Along the lines of dissatisfied customers, have you found the same maxim to be true with sponsors? Do they spread bad reviews as much as often as consumers? Yeah. Oh, man.
It's just a human thing. Oh, my gosh. Yeah.
Luckily, we don't have too many situations where a sponsor is unhappy and we can't fix it. Like, most of the time, sponsors are happy. We spend a lot of time and effort on making sure that happens, and we only work with clients who are just, like, fantastically good at this. Yeah. So 99 times out of 100, it's actually probably 999 times out of 1,000, it's fine. Like, they're happy. The times that they're not, and we can't, you know, do a make good, that's usually what we call it. Let's make good for something that happened. So, you know, that somebody forgot to say a couple of the talking points, or, you know, they didn't like something that happened in the stream. A lot of times you can say, hey, yeah, totally understand he missed those talking points. You know, What if he does another tweet about the game, you know, or something like that? That's a make good, right? Like, it would cost more. It's like when you go to a restaurant and it's like, oh yeah, sorry your food was late, here's a free dessert, kind of thing. And so most of the time that makes people happy. But yeah, dissatisfied customers of any sort will talk. And it's funny how often companies complain to us about other streamers.
Yeah, it's happened.
You know, and the same thing, right? Like, we hear from companies like, hey, yeah, you know, so-and-so company said this or that, or said this about another company, right? So there is a complete, you know, a very high level of gossip going on all over the industry about everything. You know, just that's how business works, right? And part of your job as a business developer is to make sure that you're setting the narrative and the story about your company that you want to have out there, right? Like, if you're PewDiePie, you don't want the narrative to be about the racist things you've said or, you know, whatever. You want the narrative to be about how you have 50 million followers and you're a big deal and, you know, you're Swedish, whatever it is, right? Like, you want to control the things people think about you. And so that's part of what business development is. It's almost marketing. Like, you're going out building those relationships so that if somebody at one company goes to another company and says, wow, OPG sucks, like, they're the worst people ever, you know, the person at that company is like, really? Because I've known Omeed for like 10 years and I've never had one problem with him. What the hell are you talking about? You know, and that by itself provides the best defense against gossip and, you know, random people being shitty. Which is why I don't mind having critics, because I find that most of the people that criticize us have less credibility than we do. Fight me if you want to.
They get through me. I'm pretty tough.
Yeah, exactly. Odiego's like, favorite Steam reviews are the ones that, this is the biggest dumpster fire I've ever experienced. 1,500 hours played.
That's why I like Steam reviews so much, because it's just like, yes, this person has played this many hours, so you can know how weird their review actually is. Yeah. People seem to forget how small our industry is, like, all the time. Yeah. I mean, obviously there's thousands and thousands and thousands of people that work here in this industry, but everybody talks. It's all very public out there. I mean, a lot of people just say things on Twitter, and, you know, maybe they delete the tweet, but it's the internet, so.
Yeah. And, I mean, We'll Meet Again Someday is my favorite song.
It's a good song.
But it's true. Like, people just end up bouncing around. They end up at different companies. Like, the expertise to work with broadcasters, to understand Twitch, social media, all that stuff is, like, fairly new. So there's only a few people that have experience doing it. So whenever a company is hiring that position, they're looking for somebody that, you know, has some experience, because they don't know how to do it. So especially when you don't know how to do it, you need somebody with the experience. Then you've only got like the 5 people that can. So there you go, you know. You can see how the same people end up in, you know, getting jobs. So it is really important to, you know, keep those personal relationships, take care of people, and, you know, it's all like basic friendship kind of stuff. Like, be honest with people, you know, tell them good news and bad news, you know, be transparent, don't lie, do right by them, you know, try to create situations where both sides win.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about that a lot. We talk about how we're not trying to get the highest possible price for everything we do. You know, there are some streamers that will go out and try to basically extort a company for as much money as possible. We could do that. We could get a lot more money for every deal we do. I guarantee it. But if, you know, if Audrey went to buy that can of Diet Coke and I charged her $1,000 for it, you know, and she's like, look, I'm really thirsty, I need that. And I'm like, well, yeah, so you gotta pay me $1,000, fuck you. And so she she finally pays up the $1,000, because the only Diet Coke in the universe now, and she drinks it. It's not even gonna taste good for $1,000, right?
Nah.
Like, all you taste is the bile of being ripped off. And it's the same thing here, right? So if you do a deal where it would be fair to do it for $1,000, but you you could get $3,000 out of them because they don't know what they're doing, and you do that, they're going to eventually at least figure out that they paid too much money, and they may figure that out by working with another company in the future and seeing that the rate is much lower, or just talking to someone and having them say, like, oh, you paid $3,000 for that guy? Are you kidding? Like, I paid $1,000 for him last week. Like, and then all those things, and you're just done.
Yep.
Like, you're done with that person and that company, because that guy will go and tell, his boss and his teams, like, yeah, so-and-so screwed me. And then at some point he's going to move somewhere else because it's a small industry.
Yep.
And now you're screwed at that company too, because you screwed that guy over.
You've tainted all these places. Don't taint.
Yeah, don't taint. If you learned anything today.
don't do that. But this goes into this topic right here, fostering relationships. And like we talked about future work earlier in the stream, it's the same thing. Just, being fair, being good, being professional, keeping up relationships, and communications and everything like that, and doing the best job that you possibly can on any sponsored work that comes in, and making good if you need to or anything like that, because like we said, if that person leaves that company, the person that you worked with leaves that company, they go to a different company, maybe even a company that you want to work with even more, then now they're there and they're going to remember you, and they're going to remember that they had a good time working with you, that they enjoyed their experience, that you did a really good job, and so they're hopefully going to want to work with you again at a different company.
Yeah, and I mean, another piece of advice here is when you're looking at ways to demonstrate that, look at ways that you can provide additional value. Don't look for ways to make it cheaper. Like, people will forget a discount. Like, if I give you so it's a $1,000 deal. I give it to you for $700. Guys, I'm giving you 30% off. This is a fantastic deal, right? They're going to take it because it is a good deal, but they're not going to remember it. What they're going to remember is that you took $700 for the deal. Now that's your price. Even though you'll remind them, it's like, well, that was a discount. It's like, well, you did it once on a discount.
Maybe you'll do it again.
But instead, look for things you can do to provide additional value, whether that's, promoting it in creative ways that, maybe only you can do, doing a little bit of extra work sometimes, if you're trying to impress them, giving them good reporting, like taking some clips or screenshots from your show and saying, hey, I had a really good 45 seconds here where I hit all the talking points and it's great, like those kinds of things, right? Because now you give them and we do this for every sponsored stream. Like, we take clips, we take screenshots, we provide links, all this stuff, because they can take that clip. I mean, I used to, when I worked at companies, I would watch the whole damn stream, trying to find the 30 seconds in there where something just brilliant happened, so I could send that to my boss and say, look, we didn't waste our money. And so if you can just do that for them, because you know when something good happened, right? You were there.
Maybe write it down.
Yeah, write it down, or tell your mods, like, hey, can you just, anytime I do something good or goodish or funny or whatever, can you just take a clip for me? Like, it'll really help. And then you've got those. You send that over, and that guy that you did the work for is like, oh, my life is so easy.
I don't have to do this now.
Yeah, it's just like, give me this clip. He forwards it to his entire department. They all laugh or really enjoy it. Really hit the mark, and then they're like, wow, that person was great because nobody else did that. Yeah. So you look way better by providing that value, and again, if you take the discount as the way to try to provide value, you're just going to hurt yourself in the long run, and it's not as memorable. It doesn't have as big an impact on them, because it's not like he goes to his boss and goes, well, boss, I got one of the 100 deals I did for 30% off. And boss is like, well, you saved the company. It's like, here's a medal. It just doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
But going above and beyond in how you report it, what the content is, that sort of thing, is huge.
Yep. Just doing a good job on anything that you got coming through will help foster relationships for the future, and for future work. Future work again.
Future work.
Yeah, providing that extra reporting at the end, it's really nothing. It doesn't really take much more of your time to do but man, does it really just like make an impression.
Yeah.
You know, and it's good. It has like, you got like, this is how many clicks I got on this link. This is how many people watch my stream. This is the amount of like, you know, video views or whatever, and some really great clips. And then they don't have to do anything else. They don't have to think about it.
Because remember that no one else has access to your dashboard except you. So those stats that you're looking at, they can't get to them. Like, they can't go look. And so most people don't even know about something like Twinge or Twitch stats or whatever, where they could go find data. Like, and because of that, they have no data, which means they have no idea what's going on. And if you can give them data that looks good, and sometimes you have to explain what it means. It's like, hey, check this out. Like, my audience kept getting bigger over time while I was playing your game. That's a great sign. It means that people weren't leaving. They actually liked the game. And then, you know, give them some of that context, give them some nice charts, things like that. Like, that is so valuable. Like, companies will pay tens of thousands of dollars a month to have access to a tool that will do that for social media or something like that. For Twitch, not as much because it's still kind of new. But, you know, like legitimately $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month for that kind of sentiment analysis tool or, you know, that kind of thing. And so just giving them that little bit of data is, it's like you're handing them fire for the first time, like you invented fire. It's pretty great. Could you put those clips into a portfolio of sorts, shop them around to other companies? Hey, Molten, how you doing, man? Yeah, absolutely. They're public, you know, you did them in public, right? So this is how I always look at this stuff. If it's your content, like you own it, and it could reasonably be found by a human being that's, like, if you spend infinite time researching, searching, whatever, and you could find the information, then there's no point in hiding it.
Right.
You know, like, because people will find it. So, you know, anything you can do to summarize, show off is going to be great. Like having a set of clips that make you look really good. Of course, you know, I watch those clips and I'm like, man, this guy seems great. I bet he would be great playing my game. It's just going to help, you know?
Yeah, it helps more than like somebody trying to like find more about you and look at a VOD and you're just doing something regular. But if you're actually like, you have, you know, sponsored call outs and you're hitting talking points and you're doing real hot, then those are good to put in a little short video.
Yeah. I mean, again, we were talking about it, controlling the narrative of what people are saying or thinking about you is really important. That's really what marketing and PR are all about. You know, I want you to understand that my toothpaste cleans your teeth 10% better than every other toothpaste, right? We all know that's bullshit. Like, that's all just toothpaste, right? It's just like stuff, you know, it's just toothpaste. But companies will put together the materials to make that seem true. And they're very careful and methodical and strategic about that sort of thing. So the same thing is true of everything. You know, if you want people to think you're really good at racing, you know, like you're a really good running guy, like get a bunch of fucking medals from 5Ks, like buy them on Craigslist or something, you know, put them in your office. Like, I mean, don't do this because this is fraud, right? But, like, you know, if you're trying to create an image of something, you need to show that image. And the same is true here. Like, if you want people to see you at your best, show them your best. Because if I go, I mean, do this for me as just an exercise at some point.
Here's your homework. Go
to Twitch, twitch.tv, just the website, log out of your account, refresh the main page. Now, decide that you're going to try to find out, you know, like you're a company doing research on your channel or, you know, a big channel, whatever you want. Pick that channel and then get there, like through that stuff, like through Twitch. You know, try to use the search engine, try to click around. First, see how hard it is to actually get to them. You know, don't just type it into the bar, right? That's cheating. Like, they won't know how to do that. So try to get to their thing through the search and then find them and then find live content. Now, you know, 20% of the time you'll get lucky and they'll actually be live. But the rest of the time, when they're not, you know, you go to this kind of dead page, right? It's just the, you know, the screen, the, hey, you know, we'll be back soon kind of thing. And a bunch of panel links. And then, you know, you click on videos And now what do? There's like a bunch of videos.
Yeah.
You kind of look around, probably pick the one that has like a lot of views, click on that. And then because those aren't edited, right? There's like 5 minutes of a starting screen. So if I don't know what I'm doing, I'm just watching. I'm like, this is really the content? This is terrible.
What do we do? Yeah.
It's just playing annoying music and has a screen up.
Or it's muted.
Yeah. And then you skip forward, but you're in a random video,
Yeah.
right? So like it could just be a day that you had a bad day. Or it could be you're just getting started, you haven't had your coffee yet, so you're kind of low energy. Whatever. You have no control over what they're clicking on and what they see. Whereas if you create like a compilation of clips or a place that has like a curated set of clips, or just put them in an email. Hey, do you want to see more about me? Well, here's 5 clips that will show you something. This one's me being funny. This one's me promoting a product. This one's me falling out of my chair. This one's whatever.
Yeah.
Just then they watch those. They're getting the image that you wanted to present instead of the random image you have no control of. So there's your homework. Thank you guys so much. I think we need to wrap it up because we have a kitten that may or may not be pooping
I don't know
everywhere.
what's going on now.
Yeah, it's just pooping everywhere.
I really hope not.
And it is Friday, so we got to get our stuff done so we can have team game time because it's team game time day.
It is team game time day.
I'm very excited. And Kip Boga just went live, so go watch Kip Boga.
Yes!
And you guys have a great weekend. We will see you next week for Office Hours.
Yay!
And take care.
Bye, everybody.